Am I the a-hole for not wanting to contribute to my stepson's college fund? My 39M and my wife Emily 38F have been married for 12 years. Emily has a son James 17 from a previous relationship with Dan. Left Dan when she caught him cheating with a coworker. They shared 50/50 custody of James. I met him about a year after he had left Dan. A year later, Dan married his affair partner, and I got married soon after. James never really bonded to me. I admit that I tried a little too hard initially to get him to like me, but backed off when I realized I was trying too hard and it was having the opposite impact. Over the years, we've built a tense acceptance of sorts, if that makes sense. And I have 3 kids, 10F, 7M, and 4M. James doesn't have a good relationship with them either. He bonds well with Dan's sons, but doesn't like spending much time with our kids. He isn't mean to them, but just ignores them mostly. The eldest 2 now just avoid him when he is home. And I both have well-paying jobs, and early on, we decided that I would contribute 80% to our trio's college fund, and would do 20%, cause she would contribute 100% to James' college fund. We didn't know if Dan was making any such arrangements on his end, but we thought that at least this way James would have something instead of nothing. Recently sat him down to talk to him about his college fund. He seemed happy with the financial help he was going to get. He went off to dance for the weekend, and when he came back, he asked him about our kids' college funds. When he learned that the amount was fairly higher than his, he was upset. When he asked about the disparity, and told him about our college fund setup, he was furious to know that I hadn't contributed to his college fund. He said that I was just pretending to play family with him all these years, that I really didn't care about him and was a heartless a-hole. Suggests that we could take some money out of our youngest fund and give it to James, and that she would add it back over time. But she said that it's my call, that she won't pressurize me either way and would accept whatever I decided. Quite frankly, I don't want to do it. James idolizes his crappy father, even now that he knows he cheated on his mother. I could deal with his crappy behavior with me, but I never understood his attitude towards our kids. We even tried going to family therapy. He refused to go because I wasn't his family. Now when he needs money, suddenly I am family. I know I am perhaps being petty, but I don't want to give him the money. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I think some clarifications are in order. I don't hate that James idolizes his father. I hate that he blames his mother for their family breaking up. When James was 13, he had heard from one of his older cousin Dan's side what his father had done that led to Emily leaving. When he confronted her about it, she explained. We tried for therapy then, but didn't happen. We'll explain later. Last year, he told his mother that he believes she was responsible. That instead of leaving Dan, she should have forgotten about what he did and continued to stay with him. Was expectedly shocked, but when she asked him if the situation was reversed and she had cheated on Dan and he left her, would then Dan be blamed for the family breaking up? He said no, that would definitely be her fault, and made no further explanations. This was not as a result of an argument or heat of the moment statement. Ironically, this was a casual dinner table conversation. The other kids had to be excused from the table. When Em and I had gotten together and things were starting to look serious, she had wanted to take him to a child therapist who could help him adjust better to the changing situation around him. Since they shared 50/50 custody, Dan's consent was needed. He refused. When we were going to get married, we tried for therapy. Dan said he got married before us and James had no issues. We were overreacting. He didn't need therapy. When the above incident happened, when Em was pregnant with our daughter, and most recently after last year's incident. This time we asked him directly. We thought if he agreed to family therapy, then we could speak to our lawyer and work around the custody arrangement since he was almost an adult. This was when he refused therapy, saying I wasn't family. For all those saying that I am treating a teenager like an adult, that I made him feel like the other and not one of us. We tried. When we both started earning well, we wanted on splurge on our kids during birthdays and holidays. James was never excluded. Whatever our kids got, he got too. In fact, as he is older, he got to pick what he wanted. For his 11th birthday, he wanted to go to Disney World. Both of Dan's kids were invited. His youngest son and my daughter are the same age. He went, she wasn't invited. We stayed home. We started the college funds about a year after our daughter was born. Couldn't start one for James earlier since she was a Sam when she was with Dan. It took her a while to get back on her feet. She wasn't in a position to immediately start a college fund for him. What a lot of you pointed out is right. He has been shortchanged. We'll recidify that and make up the deficit he should get by the time he starts college. But that will still not make it as much as he remaining 3. We have decided to sit and have a chat with him this weekend about everything. He has 2 parents to contribute to college. They can find him. Sounds like Dan had better step up. Opie replies, I doubt that would happen. Dan has never been good at keeping a steady income flow and his wife is a Sam. They aren't disparately struggling to make ends meet, but I could make an educated guess to say Dan has probably not saved up for any of his kids' college funds. Not the a-hole, but why in the world did your wife tell him about your other kids' college funds? It's simply none of his business and giving him the details was just going to upset him. He was perfectly fine with the arrangement before he knew the younger kids are getting more than him. Your wife is the a-hole for opening up a conversation about money with her 17-year-old son, and even more of Ta for suggesting you take money out of the other kids' funds to make James happy. I don't blame him for getting upset, but your wife needs to contribute more to his fund if she wants to make him happy. Not the a-hole his father put that entitlement into his head that he should have the same amount as the other kids. Except, his own father should have been saving for him as well and obviously did not. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my kids 11 and 13 to travel to the Middle East Dubai with their dad this winter to visit his family? I 41F had a very difficult marriage with my ex-husband 42M who was financially and emotionally controlling. We lived in the Middle East after our marriage where he kept control of my and the children's passports and restricted us from traveling. His family constantly interfered and caused conflict, and because he was financially dependent on his father, he never defended me. Eventually, we came to the US with my children. His family told me I could only return if I followed their rules. Sounds crazy, I know, but I chose to stay in the US, built a career in IT, and ultimately left the marriage. Since then, we've been co-parenting. I have primary custody, and while he pays child support, he refuses to provide clothing or essentials for the children and instead deducts those expenses from my child support payments. I currently have a case pending with the Division of Child Services regarding his violations of our agreement. He does not have a job and relies on his family for income. Earlier this summer, he asked if the children could go with him to the Middle East. I told him I was not comfortable with that, especially given the risk that he could keep them there without my say. Since then, he has been ignoring me completely. He only speaks through the children, has ignored over 20 of my messages, and I later discovered he blocked me. During this time, I was handling all of the children's medical and school needs, including physicals, dental cleanings, orthodontic consultations, and back-to-school preparations without any input or communication from him. He has also made inappropriate comments to the children, telling them I am just mad because I can't afford to go to the Middle East, and even laughed about it with his brother in front of them. Now, with his brother's girlfriend expecting a baby in December, he wants the kids to travel there for the birth. But given his history of control, the lack of communication, his habit of deducting child support, and the real legal risks of the children not being allowed to return, I do not feel comfortable allowing them to go. Am I the a-hole for not letting them go to Dubai visit my ex's family? Not the a-hole. Get a lawyer. Make sure you keep possession of the children's passports. Get the 13-year-old a phone and a code to transmit if something shady is about to go down. Not the a-hole. High risk you will never see them again if they go. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying to my wife that what she's doing is weaponized incompetence just like the men? I 24mm on a work trip to another city, not too far. While I am away, my wife 24F has been home alone. I would like to mention here that both of us have lived alone. She called me a couple days ago to tell me that she is craving a dish I make when I'm home. I sent her a recipe. But she spends the rest of the day calling me at regular intervals to ask or complain about specific ingredients and how each step is done stuff in the recipe or things she should know by remembering what the dish looks like. How long do I boil the pasta? Should I try it with a fork? Do I cube the onion? Okay, but can I also slice it? Yesterday, she sends me a picture of a small towel shelf in the bathroom attached by suction that had fallen off. I send her back a message. Oh crap, oops. You probably need to get a new one from IKEA that's not going back on. She proceeds to not talk about it for the rest of the day. I figure she handled it. Today she calls me about how annoying it is to have the towels on the counter. I ask why she hasn't gone to IKEA and attached the new one. She says she doesn't know which one to get. F. I get annoyed and tell her that she's using weaponized incompetence, distracting me and expecting me to handle basic life tasks from hundreds of kilometers away. I ask what is she gonna do if the roof collapses? Wait till I get back to call someone or to Google it? I'm fine with her calling, but holy crap, it's annoying if someone is just being lazy and complaining about the same stuff. She gets a little heated and says she genuinely just doesn't know how to do that, it's a suction cup, and that term is only for feminist issues about men's systematic behavior towards women, and that I'm being ignorant by abusing that language. I will also mention here that this isn't some huge fight. We talk about political stuff a lot. So was I the a-hole? I'm just mad because this is basic life skills crap that I am sure she'd deal with fine if she was single. Is this one of those issues where you're simply not supposed to use this term and it's only reserved for a certain setup and I should have said something else like in terms like reverse racism? Warning. Misogynists, I am not on your side. I want reasonable human beings here. Pick another post to comment on. Not the a-hole. The term itself is not gender specific. Feminist here, and this is a perfect example of weaponized incompetence. The term has nothing to do with gender. She's using you as Google. That's not okay. If someone was interrupting my work for non-urgent issues, I'd be pissed too. Not the a-hole. OP replies,
Thanks.
To be fair to her, the only one of these that happened during my work hours, since she also has a job of course, was the picture of the sad shelf on the bathroom floor. The distracting was more about my time off, since I'm having work dinners every night these few days as part of the trip. But other than that, yes, I'm starting to agree again. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife we aren't getting a new car until she gets a job? My wife is a Sam to our two kids ages 15 and 13. I do most of the budgeting and finances, but try to involve her, but she's simply not interested, she says. We are comfortable financially, mostly because I've always avoided debt and been frugal. We also live in an alcohol city, which helps a lot. My wife is the spender between us, and it seems she's always pushing the limits and wanting to spend more on lifestyle, mostly for her, like makeup, eyelashes, hair care, face creams, nails, waxing, etc. We set a budget of $800 for each of us to spend on whatever we want, but she always uses hers up, then wants me to pay for takeout or buy her things on Amazon because I don't even spend much. It's true, I mostly garden, hike, bike, read, but I do save up sometimes for big-ticket items like a new Kindle or Scribe or a new bike. I've explained that it's not fair for her to ask for my spending money, just because she spends hers quickly. Well, recently we paid off our mortgage because I had been paying extra every month and she said, good, now we can buy a new car. I refused and said that money is going towards our investment accounts so we can have a comfortable retirement. When we met, we always talked about retiring early and traveling the world. And we still have regular conversations about it, so I don't think she's changed her mind, unless it was in the past month. Anyway, she was mad saying that I was a tight wad and that why do we need to save so much in retirement accounts if we can die tomorrow? One of our cars is a 2017 and the other is a 2014. We paid for both in cash when we bought them and they've been nothing but reliable. She said our cars were old and that she wants a new one and seems pretty set on the idea. I told her fine, we can buy a new car once you get a job and you've been working for at least a year. She was furious with that comment and said I was an a-hole and a cheapskate. I told her, look, I only want what's best for our future. And the kids will be starting college soon, and we need to save more for that too. Plus, maybe once they go to college in a few years, we can get a nice used car in cash if we start saving for it now. She didn't like that response either and is now giving me the silent treatment. I feel like I'm the responsible villain and she is the happy-go-lucky one that has no care in the world. For reference, our income is $140,000 and we are in our mid-30s. She's never held a job because she's always been a Sam, so paying off the mortgage to me is a huge relief, and I want to put that extra money to good use. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If you have two cars that run perfectly fine, a new car is unnecessary. We can die tomorrow. Am I the only one who read that and thought she missed the point? Sole breadwinner dies. What's left? Savings. Opie replies, That's true. I would have pointed it out if I would have caught it. Makes a great point. Next story. Am I the a-hole for sitting my brother and sister-in-law down and speaking up for my niece and nephews on how badly they are handling the new normal for their stepfamily? My brother has 3 children, Luke 16M, Cam 14F, and Bo 11M with my late best friend Cam. My brother and late best friend were married for almost a decade and separated just before Cam passed away from a brain bleed in her early 30s. My niece Cam was named very similarly to her mother intentionally. My brother was the one who suggested it when they found out baby number 2 was a girl. My niece always used her full name, however, while my best friend was always Cam. After my best friend died, my niece decided she wanted that extra connection to her mom and stopped using her full name and chose to go by Cam. Everyone respected this and started calling her Cam. My brother had no problem with her doing this previously. He called her Cam just like everybody else. My niece, when asked about her name, would say she was named after her mom and mini Cam. This has become a problem now because my brother remarried a couple of years ago. His new wife always had a problem with Cam being Cam and being a mini. She tried to use Cam's full name, but my niece told her she didn't like it and went by Cam for a reason. Sister-in-law vocalized some complaints a few months into the marriage but dropped it around the rest of the family when she had no support in her complaints. When she remembered that I was late Cam's best friend, she closed off to me completely. A few times she complained about how often Cam, my best friend, was mentioned, and how people reminded Cam's niece that she looks just like her mom. It all came to a head 2 months ago when my brother and sister-in-law sat the kids down and told Cam it was bothering sister-in-law to have her use the same name as her mom, that she wanted them all to use her full name like she did before her mom died. She said she did not see why that was such a big deal. My brother backed her up with the request. She also requested that they speak about their mom less at home because it makes sister-in-law uncomfortable. Instead of doing this, the kids all doubled down and talked about their mom more, and Cam made sure her name was used significantly more. The boys would repeat her name just to get to sister-in-law. My brother said nothing until sister-in-law tried to put a stop to it, and he supported her again. He told the kids not to chase sister-in-law away. They said they wanted to, and they'd rather she go than their mom's memory go. There was a fight several days after that discussion where Cam told sister-in-law she would never be as good as her mom, and just because she was so jealous and insecure, she was going to compare everything so she'd realize how not good she is. Cam was punished for this. The boys supported their sister, and more discourse erupted in the house. The kids bundled all their mom's things up and sent them to my house for safekeeping. Sister-in-law then freaked out about how much they were turning her into the enemy. She started using Cam's full name all the time, and my brother took her side when fights ensued. The kids told me about it last week, and I decided someone else needed to step in, so I sat my sister-in-law and brother down and told them plainly they were messing up the new normal as a stepfamily. I said by making their mom the enemy or someone who needs to be hidden away, sister-in-law and my brother have guaranteed she will be the enemy to them. I said fighting a person over their name just shows how much the two of them need to figure their crap out. They didn't appreciate it coming from me, and they accused me of overstepping. Am I the a-hole? Your brother is a piece of crap for supporting that nonsense. He's putting his kids second here. What a failure of a father he is. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It doesn't take a genius or psychologist to understand how this works. Tell a kid not to do something, and that's exactly what a kid will do. And the kids are right. His new wife sounds insecure and jealous AF, and she can't tell Cam she has to change her name, or any of the kids they need to stop talking about and remembering their mother. She was their mother. Stay supportive for all the kids and let them know you will always talk about her and remember her with them so they know they have an adult in their corner while their dad seems to have forgotten that he is a parent. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel our posts.